Hey guys, it's Jonathan Bales. I'm at FantasyLabs, and I wanted to talk briefly about our plus minus metric. Plus minus is the foundation of a lot of the stats and really all of the tools that we have at FantasyLabs. And what plus minus is the points above or below expected per game for a player. So we look at how many points a player or players have scored in specific situations, and then compare that to what we think they should have scored as a way to find value. And the way that we determine how many points a player should score is based on his salary. So I'm looking at NBA player models right now, and you can see we have implied points here. So we have all historical performance and salary data from the DFS sites. And so we can look at historical pricing to know Kyle Lowry, for example, tonight is $8,000 on DraftKings. Based on that salary, we would expect him to score 35.51 points. That's how many points players in similar situations around that cost have scored on DraftKings in the past. And so we are projecting him at 38.3 points. And if he were to theoretically score 38.3 points, that would create a plus minus of 2.8 for the game. So his projected plus minus is 2.8 points above what you'd expect based on that cost, which is just another way of saying that he's underpriced. But once you have that data, you can do a lot of cool things. So plus minus is sort of one of the main components behind our trends tool, where you can look at basically we open up our database of stats, and you can look at all these different stats and run different queries to find value on players that adjust for how many points they should actually score in those situations given their cost. So I'm looking at FanDuel basketball players who have scored at least 25 fantasy points per game over the past month. Based on their collective salaries, we'd expect them to score 29.88 points. They've actually scored 31.99 points. That's a plus minus of 2.12. And they've also turned in consistency of 57.4%. And that's an example of a metric that we can create that's based off of plus minus, which is just the consistency is how often a player reaches that expectation. And so randomly, you might expect it to be 50% of the time, 57.4%, obviously better than average. And so plus minus is the backbone of our trends product. We also have, like I said, a bunch of stats that are based off of it, like opponent plus minus. And the reason that something like that can be so powerful is because it naturally controls for opponent strength. So a defense that is really good against senders early in the year, maybe they just faced a bunch of senders who really aren't that good. We would be able to control for that because plus minus looks at opponent's salary, and so naturally worse senders are going to cost less, and you'd expect them to score fewer points anyway. And then in models, when you move around the sliders and click update, what we're doing is we're back testing and we're looking at plus minus. So I'm looking at the fan model for NBA. His model has scored 5.72 points per player per game above what you'd expect based on their salaries. So everything that we do in terms of back testing is based off of plus minus. So overall, I think it's a really, really powerful metric. There's so much that you can do with it. There's a bunch of other stats that we have that are all based off of plus minus, but it's a really important thing to know and to grasp and fully understand to be able to properly harness the power of FantasyLabs.